All right. How many of you guys have worked on a campaign? Hands up. All right, that's all right. Well, I hope by the time I'm done speaking, I'll inspire some more of you to work on a campaign. I'm the Blasian daughter of immigrant parents. My dad is from Guyana, and my mother is from China. I was born in Casper, Wyoming, raised in Dhahran, Saudi Arabia, and Houston, Texas. Considering that I could pretty much be the poster girl for the United Nations, I always figured that I'd be in a role doing something global, traveling the world. But I haven't, because for the last 10 years, I've worked on local and national campaigns. I'm not sure how I got into politics. One thing for certain is that it was not encouraged by my parents. As you can see, growing up, I was a little different. Well, very different. I was psyched to get those glasses. I thought that if you were smart, you should wear glasses. During my summers, I went to math camp. I skipped the 3rd grade. When the book Tiger Mom came out, I read it cover to cover and then was super confused. I didn't get what the outrage was about. Doesn't everyone's mom ask what happened to the other 4 points when you score a 96 on a test? Doesn't everyone have to play their violin at their parents' dinner parties to entertain the guests? Immigrant parents, based on my informal yet very conclusive survey of all my friends with immigrant parents, typically want their kids to be one of 2 things, a doctor or a lawyer. Being a press secretary, or the much less glamorous role of field staffer, doesn't even crack the top 100 of my parents' preferred occupations. That's kind of a shame, because field staffers are the heart and soul of a campaign. They do the lit drops and the phone banking, the truly roll-up-your-sleeves grassroots stuff that makes a big difference come election day. But can you imagine the look on my mother's face when my first job out of college was a field staffer? She was like, "You work in a field?" Even when I became a press secretary, on the nation's most high-profile Senate race, no less. Even when I became a press secretary, on the nation's most high-profile Senate race, no less, my mother's reaction was, "Wait, you're the secretary?" Now, I don't mean to rag on my mom. She's the most loving, hardworking, wonderful mom I know. And now that I'm a mom, I can't help but regret every time I was anything but a perfect daughter. But the fact remains, despite the amazing experiences I had in my formative years, everything I know, I learned on a campaign. Now, campaigns come with their ups and downs, and I've certainly experienced it all. The 7-day work weeks, the sleep deprivation, gaining campaign weight, which on one campaign rivaled my pregnancy weight. Thank you, pork chop on a stick. But my experiences in politics help prepare me for any, and I mean any, business or personal situation to come. Campaigns require a mindset and type of thinking that give you the foundation to be successful in any field that you choose. Campaigns cause you to stir the hunger from within, to dig really deep, force yourself to think outside of the box, challenge your beliefs, and defy what you think is even in the realm of possibility. And as a bonus, because campaigns tend to be so intense, you end up making some of the best friends for life. I think that everyone in America should work on a campaign for at least a year after graduating from high school or college or graduate school, when your view of the world is changing and you're wondering what to do next. And by campaign, I don't mean just democratic or even political ones. Campaigns can be to help end world hunger or to save a neighborhood landmark. And campaigns can be big or small. I've worked on a couple presidential campaigns, but I've also worked on really small campaigns. And one of the smallest campaigns was one of my most stressful campaigns. I think we ended up winning by a margin of 24 votes or something like that. But I poured my heart and soul into every day of that campaign. You better believe I was in the kitchens of PTA members and on the sidelines on Saturday mornings at soccer games rounding up votes. So what am I talking about here? What's so great about working on a campaign? Let me break it down for you. Lesson number 1. When working on a campaign, you quickly learn something I like to refer to as there is no no. If you're doing advance on a presidential campaign and you have a rally coming up and you've been tasked with securing the porta potties, but every single porta potty in the entire county appears to be rented out by the opposing campaign, not because they have a rally, mind you, but because they know you do, there's no going back to your boss and telling him that you weren't able to secure the porta potties. You're going to drive all the way across the state to find them. And no, you're not getting additional budget to cover their beyond 100-mile radius travel fee, so you better figure out a way to charm them into not charging one. There is no means that if you've been told you need to hang a banner from a barn now, and there doesn't appear to be a ladder or anything that could get you up the barn within your immediate vicinity, you're driving your car right next to the barn and using that as a makeshift ladder. Oh, and if you've run out of zip ties, shoelaces make an excellent substitute. It means that if you've been tasked with getting a sign language interpreter for an upcoming campaign rally and she cancels on you the night before, you're going to the town's most happening destination, Walmart, and standing outside the exit and asking everyone who walks by if they know sign language or if they know someone who knows sign language until you hit the jackpot. These things really happened. But these things help create a mindset within me that in order to figure out a solution, you have to use any and every resource possible. Giving up was never an option. Another part of there is no is making sure that the words, "this isn't in my job description," never come out of your mouth. Everything you do has an impact on the bigger picture. So if the candidate mentions in passing that their old press staffer used to get them Egg McMuffins before their early morning interviews, you can kiss that 6 a.m. wake-up call goodbye. You're getting up at 4:30 so you can drive to the only 24-hour McDonald's within city limits to get them their Egg McMuffin. Think about it. Getting Egg McMuffins might not be listed in your job description, but ensuring that the candidate is in a zen place prior to their CNN morning interview is. So if that means getting them an Egg McMuffin, get the Egg McMuffin. As a matter of fact, get two just in case. In the end, campaigns are about results, so do what you gotta do to make them happen. Now, lesson number 2. When working on a campaign, you quickly realize that you're always short on resources. So, you have to challenge yourself to be innovative. As a matter of fact, regardless of the field that you're in, you should always keep near the front of your mind that you were hired to have fresh, new ideas. I have tons of stories from my time as a senior staffer on the Biden for President campaign. But one of my favorite memories was the creation of the Years of Experience board. After a long day of complaints from younger staffers about how they were tired of having to work harder than everybody else, a group of us realized that we needed to do something to both raise team morale and to make a serious point. One of our upcoming debates was around the corner, and we figured that we were tired of being shown up by the other Better Finance campaigns, especially during the televised scenes outside of the debates known as visibilities. You had the Hillary campaign with her fancy schmancy signs, and the Obama campaign with their mobs of people and awesome synchronized chants. We needed something too, but we had to be crafty. We were working with a budget of next to nothing. So, using ears of corn plucked from the fields of a Biden supporter, we created this 14-foot tall, astroturf-covered board which displayed an ear of corn for every year that each of the candidates had been in the Senate. So as you can see, Biden had 32, while the others, well, did not. It was a huge hit, featured in local and national publications, but more importantly, it provided a strong sense of pride, not just that day, but throughout the rest of the campaign. We trotted out that Years of Experience board anywhere and everywhere. You could see the other campaigns rolling their eyes as here we came with our Years of Experience board. But we busted that out at the Harkin Steak Fry, to the Jefferson Jackson dinner, to every other debate and candidate forum. Now, we didn't quite win the Iowa caucuses, but we took pride in the fact that we were working for the candidate with the most years of experience, someone who had dedicated most of his adult life to public service. That Years of Experience board represented something to us as well. The need to make something from nothing, to turn what you have into what you need, to really dig deep and work your heart out for a cause bigger, taller than we are. Imagine how proud we are to call this guy Mr. Vice President. I can go on and on about all the things I've learned on a campaign, but since I have a time limit, I will move right along and say that the third thing about working on a campaign is that you notice that you start to approach each and every situation, business and personal, like a campaign, with the same intensity and the same framework. There are 4 steps in what I like to think of as the campaign-informed life. First of all, you define your goal. Second, you define what are going to be your challenges to reaching that goal. Third, you find your supporters, the people who are going to help you reach your goal. And then lastly, you inspire those supporters to overcome the challenges to reach the goal. Let me give an example. I served as a spokeswoman for the governor's economic stimulus team, which meant that I was the voice of President Obama's economic recovery office here in Massachusetts. Now, my goal was to communicate the positive impact of stimulus funding. But our challenge was that the benefits of the stimulus program were getting lost in the numbers. So while we were awarding all sorts of grants, $400,000 here, $2.5 million here, saving 400 jobs here, 4,000 jobs there, all of the numbers were getting jumbled in people's minds, and they were thinking stimulus isn't doing much. So what we realized is that we had to put a face behind the numbers. We had to go out to the thousands of people across the Commonwealth whose lives had been positively impacted by the stimulus in order to help communicate the story for us. We needed them to tell their stories. It's much harder to tell an actual teacher who's saying, my job was saved because of stimulus, that no, it wasn't, when people are trying to say your program isn't working. So we inspired our supporters, and because of that, we created a Faces of Economic Recovery marketing campaign. This guy, his name is Byron, had been out of work for a year, but because of a stimulus-funded bridge program, he was able to get back to work and put food on the table to feed his family. So Byron and hundreds of others, we put together on our 365 Faces of Economic Recovery, which we used to mark the 1-year anniversary of the stimulus program. It was such a hit that it was highlighted as a national model for communicating the impact of the stimulus program. Now, this whole campaign approach to things also comes handy in everyday situations. It drives my husband crazy, but it's often very effective. Something as simple as goal, having Chinese food for dinner. Challenge, husband wants pizza. Supporters, now my son is only 7 months old, so I can't have him be one of my soldiers quite yet. But the actual Chinese food items themselves that you know your husband can't resist, in this case become your supporters. But honey, you love their sweet, succulent, juicy pork spare ribs. It ends in victory every time. So in the end, when you work on a campaign, it puts you in a mindset where you're dissecting every situation and you're identifying your goal, your supporters, your challenge, and then making the magic happen. At the core, campaigns are about getting out of your comfort zone, challenging yourself, both physically and mentally. And it's something that everyone, especially everyone in this audience, is not only fully capable of, but can be successful at. So I'm now taking a little break from politics, retired. I'm doing corporate communications for an awesome company called Consumer United. And I am using the skills I learned while campaigning and challenging myself to learn something new every day. This job is a little closer to being in my parents' top 100 preferred occupations, but only because I have stock options. I'm also the very proud mom of this little guy who kept me up all last night. He's lucky, he's so cute. But I guess you could say that my new campaign is mastering the balance of being a working mom. My question for you is, what's your campaign?